tonight. So,
Okay.
All right. So I'd love to welcome each of you to our first Sanctuary Online in November of 2020. If you can believe it, that it's already November. Up here in Michigan, we've had some really nice warm temperatures. There's been a nice recovery to some early chill. But we want to welcome you. And tonight is a little bit of a change up in our schedule. So I want to make sure that everyone knows that going into the conversation. We had planned on, we had no meeting November 3rd. Obviously, we had a day of prayer for the election. And then tonight we had originally scheduled, you can see that there, Lily Brock and the change cycle. We thought it'd be really neat to talk with Lily about, you know, change, right? As we're going through that in our nation, in our country. And Lily, at the last minute, was unable to join us tonight with the change cycle. So we thought, because the election is kind of lasting a long time, that she would come on next week and it would still be wonderful. So please mark your calendars for next Tuesday night. Lily has done change cycle with us before, early on in COVID, when everything was changing. And so, you know, now 7 months later, she's going to be fantastic to help us look forward. So what's happening tonight is I'm going to switch places with Lily and give you an overview of a curriculum called Creating a Life That Matters. And I'm not going to steal my own thunder, so I'll share more about that in just a minute. And then, just to keep you on track, the last Tuesday of every month, we do a book club, and it's become quite successful. We elect the book from contributions from people at the last book club. And so for November, we've agreed to read All the Light We Cannot See. And so we give people a whole month to read the book on the 24th. It's a really nice, real interactive, conversational kind of event there on November 24th. And tonight we want to save time at the end. Sorry for that. Want to save time at the end because we have a real exciting video for you introducing our Advent series. We've been working on this for, I want to say months, which sounds silly, but we probably have been. And really excited because we're a part of a real global MCC offering. And we also hope, because our Advent series is going to be, I think, different than many folks are going to see in their own churches. And so we're hoping to get a lot of folks who maybe aren't real necessarily church goers, or if you're from a church who isn't doing a real vibrant Advent program, Sanctuary in the Woods might be a really nice place for you to add that to whatever your church is doing, whatever your family is doing, etc. But we're going to stop about 5 or 10 minutes early. Barb, Cheryl, remind me so that we can show you a video that we just made for that. You'll be the first ones to see the premiere. Give it up, the premiere of the video tonight. Thanks, Darcel, I appreciate that. We also just want to acknowledge that the world, and because of the election and the protracted goings on, is in a place of real reflection, struggle, frustration. I'm sure if I asked each of you to give me 3 adjectives, you could probably do that, and they'd all be different and maybe all be the same. But we just want to honor the space of next week. We'll chat about that. What does it mean to be part of a healing force in a world when we're even not quite sure how things are going to play out, right? And we don't know week to week or day to day how that's going to work out. But we just want to encourage all of you, you know, to stay in the conversation and stay in it with love and with grace. And we will go into that, I think, quite a bit more deeply next Tuesday. So if you're all here, and I'm excited, can I just ask people who are familiar already with the curriculum of Creating a Life That Matters? Barb, you are a certified facilitator, is that true, Barb? And Cheryl, right?
Yes.
And Brendan?
Yes.
You were certified, my goodness, my friend, years ago. I remember that when you were one of the first facilitators. Darcel, you've attended, or you're a certified facilitator now? You're on mute, hon.
I have attended.
Fabulous.
I would like to be a trainer.
I would like you to be a trainer, absolutely. And Kay, anything, have you ever heard of CLM? 0. Kathy, ever heard of it?
Attended, graduated.
Graduated, fabulous.
Now in lead.
Now in lead, congratulations. Liz?
Excellent.
You're on mute, hon.
Heard of it?
Heard of it?
Yeah, but I've not attended.
You guys offer it at your church, right? You have offered it in the past.
Yeah,
Bonnie, Bonnie and Carol? You guys are on mute again somehow. You're having sound issues tonight, ladies. Sorry. Heard of it? Haven't heard of it. Attended? You're on
Bonnie
mute.
and Carol, are you having a tropical storm down there? No, that's
So
good.
they're having it. They're trying it right now. Something's not working, ladies. Anyway, Chris, have you ever heard of CLM?
Yeah, isn't that part of the MCC curriculum or something?
It is, absolutely. Yep. And we'll share more about that tonight. Mary Beth?
I've heard of it, have not attended.
All right. Cindy?
Not a clue.
Not a clue. At a girl. Carly? Not a clue? No,
I've heard of it,
you've heard of it fabulously with Darcel.
not attended.
Well, thank you. I just want to get a little bit of a flavor here because tonight is partly an overview because one of the most exciting things I'll just own it, in my life is that with all of the pivoting that many people who used to go on stage or go into churches or go into organizations and offer curriculum like CLM, which is what we call creating a life that matters. That's been taken away from us, right? That was shut down with all of the coronavirus restrictions. And yet I'm attending, starting tomorrow, a 7-day series on some folks who used to have big conventions where folks would come, and come to multi-day workshops, and they're all flipping them up and changing them, redesigning them and putting them online. And so because CLM is a gigantic undertaking, we need folks who are facilitators, we need folks who are designers, we need folks who are curriculum people to come help us and actually shift all of these courses up onto an online medium. And then we will pilot that and test it. And the cool thing though about that is people like, I'm going to say, Cindy, you probably never had the chance to take CLM just because of where you are, where you're located, and I know so many folks, unless your organization is of a decent size, you really can't afford to put the curriculum in your organization. And now people from all over the world, church barriers, equals zero, will be able to take CLM and experience that. And we're trying to build some really neat models where if a church group, let's just say, Liz, I know your church has offered it a few times. If you all wanted to come and say 8 people wanted to attend, we could negotiate with you different ways where your group could stay together, but rotate and still build in some of the relationships that we find that are outcomes, real close relationships from CLM. So it's going to take quite a bit of logistics. It's going to be an all year undertaking, but we really do hope to pilot it to about 100 people in the fall of 2021. Darcel, you're trying to say something there, honey. I want to call on you.
No, I was just saying that's nice. It's wonderful because it's amazing.
Well, thank you, hon. And Darcel is going to give us a little testimony here. Maybe a couple of you can a little bit later on this evening. So without further ado, my friends, I'm going to be aware of our time and begin to walk us through A Taste of CLM, which is when we were working with our networks. We were taking CLM down to different networks and showing and doing really a small taste of it. So if folks weren't aware of CLM, they could become more aware and be able to actually take a part of the curriculum, a little taste of it, and see if they thought that might be something they'd like to do in their church. So CLM is a course called Creating a Life That Matters, and it is all about relationships, intentional, authentic relationships with the sacred, with ourselves, and with our passions. And tonight, I'm going to give you a little taste of the story. I've kind of tried to drill it down a little bit. Truth be told, CLM is 18 sessions long. Those 18 sessions fit into 3 courses. Each of those 3 courses have 6 sessions. And each of the sessions originally has been 2 hours long. And we've gone into churches with groups between the sizes of 12 and 24 is kind of the sweet spot. And the people who offer CLM, who are certified to teach it, are actually, they have already gone through a week-long train the trainer that I will promise you is one of the most grueling weeks of your life. And the reason we do that is because we really want to make sure that people are ready. We open up quite a few things and conversations with CLM. We want to make sure our facilitators are ready to manage that in a really healthy and healing way. CLM was written a long time ago, and a design team and a pilot rollout team that included myself and my partner Cheryl and Ken and others. And what we did is we really collaborated. And believe it or not, the reason that we're all together tonight at Sanctuary Online is because we're all together at Sanctuary in the Woods, because we wrote CLM together at a property before it was known as Sanctuary in the Woods. So really, it is the reason that we all came together to work together. And I can't tell you how much that means to all of us. So the story is that we began designing CLM in 2005 up in Toronto in the winter. Don't ask us why, because there's really no good answer. But we piloted it in 2005 at Toronto, at Freedom Oaks, which is now Uprising there in Austin, and in Portland, Oregon. Really three different dimensions of people, right? Of MCC Toronto is a very, how do I say this? It's a very eclectic church, a very progressive church, a very international church. So we wanted to see how the curriculum would land on that body. Down in Austin, real Bible Belt of the South, right? And then up in Portland, Oregon, the West Coasters. And so we just wanted to really test the curriculum. In 2006, Reverend Elder Lily Brock, who, as I share, will be here with us next week. Lily came and said, she actually called us and said, I've heard y'all are doing something down there. And she came to visit us. Lily at the time was in charge of programming for all of MCC. She was an elder. And right then and there, we began a partnership with MCC. And that's why, Kathy, where you say lead program, CLM is now part of lead program. CLM is part of the requirements for really any leadership position within the entire global organization. So we really love that relationship and honor that relationship. Quickly moving along, in 2006, we developed a train the trainer when we realized that this CLM was going to explode all around the world. And so we wanted to make sure we really equipped the people who were training it to not only be able to understand the concepts, and if you can imagine 18 sessions, but also how to facilitate the conversations that really are the nuts and bolts, the discovery of CLM. And 2007, we cooperated, we published, and we kind of solidified that relationship with MCC. In 2010, we began to CLM was being asked to go places that really couldn't, we couldn't get it there without adjusting the curriculum a little bit. You can't, commute 18 sessions across a time frame to do something like this. So we began to do weekend retreat versions, and different churches had different styles of those retreat versions. And we again kept piloting it, kept bringing the information in to see how is this working? Are we still getting the results that we wanted to for folks from the experience? And I'm thinking, there we go. I lost the slide. So at this point in time, we are now heading into a time when really to take a look at CLM once again, to change it yet again, and try and get, again, like I said, put it online. So at the end of the day, one of the taglines of CLM is that participants of Creating a Life That Matters are challenged to broaden their understanding of all that is sacred, and that's the first course. Integrate their self-awareness into being authentic, aware leaders. That's that second course. And the third course is to really helping us live our passion intentionally through the life and the work of the church. And just to be really transparent with you, CLM was built by people from within MCC, for MCC, really so we wouldn't have to adjust so much of the curriculum that we have done that in all of our lives. And so we want to now probably take a look at it and make sure it can even jump across those borders as we go online. So the curriculum is made up of 3 different courses. And the first one is called Rediscovering Relationship with the Sacred. We thought talking about God would actually be the easiest thing to do because God is kind of out there. And yet we cracked open people's understandings of God. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. The second course gets a little more personal, Rediscovering Relationship with Myself. And there's multiple activities and things that we did around how to get to know your own giftedness in a way that is, how can I be, in service of the sacred? The third course is where the rubber really hits the road, and people take a look at their entire life journey and really ask themselves, are they living within and working in a way with the things they're passionate about? And if they are, yay, affirmation, confirmation. If they're not, what has gotten in the way? And can we help them to kind of redirect some of that and to make some adjustments? Any questions thus far? That's just a lot of information there for you. Any questions? Hi, Edie and Mandy. Good to see you.
So
Go ahead.
moving forward, my mind boggles at the idea of 18 sessions, but moving forward, how is it going to be structured moving forward? Are you thinking, since it's virtual, how are you going to structure it, and how many sessions, and what are you thinking the cost will be and stuff like that?
Yeah, Chris, great questions, most of which I can't even begin to answer, except what I'm finding, and many of you know I facilitate corporately, and so I'm teaching classes, I don't know, 3 or 4 days a week. And what I'm finding is a 3-hour window, people really start to get some what they call Zoom fatigue. And so to do things, plus to do them, one, after people have had a full day of work, right? Because most of these will probably be taught at night, depending on which time zone you take it. The challenge, I think, for us is going to be to reduce the time in the evening, of each session. So it will still keep its original design of 18 sessions, and we'll try to fit that into a 90-minute window. When I can see most of you smiling, it was already a very full 2 hours. So it's going to be challenging. And some of the ways we're going to do that is the teaching pieces. We're actually going to get videotapes of people and really get a very clean teach from different instructors throughout the world. And so we think that'll be a little bit tighter, shave some time that way, and then obviously adjust the breakout rooms for conversation. So it'll be a monster. Absolutely. Barb?
Joe, can I chime in just a little bit on the 18 module structure?
Please.
It's really 3 6-module structures.
Yes.
So the way it's been taught in the everybody come to church and sit physically in the same room together format is you schedule like 6 weeks sessions, once a week for 6 weeks. And then you take a little break,
Yeah.
a month, 6 weeks off, something like that. And then you do the next one. So churches were doing that, Chris. If you think about a university trimester kind of philosophy, where you did maybe one in the fall, and then one in the winter, what would be the winter quarter, and then one in the spring quarter, with breaks in between. But you're right, 18. If you were to just do 18 in a row, that's kind of daunting.
Yeah, and you know what, and Barb, that's actually how Houston kept teaching it. Houston, because they didn't have any, like up in the weather in Toronto, Chris, where we taught it, we really were a semester. We did a fall semester, waited over the holidays, we did a spring semester, and then we did a summer semester between Easter and Pride. It really fit well for us. And yet Houston would just go straight through. I mean, it was crazy. And they put hundreds of people through the curriculum in their church. So, and as we take a look at putting it online, people like you asking questions like that need to come at us, so we make sure we get out of our box of little adjustments and really what's the best way to put this online, you know. And I'm sure there are many answers we haven't even thought of yet. So we're really trying to get a really broad cut of people with ideas. And then, like I said, we'll pilot it first before we codify it and roll it up. And the pilot courses will obviously be at a lesser price point, because the feedback, the cost per se, will be people giving us feedback. How did that go from a Zoom perspective for you? Sound good?
When you say online, you mean, and being in IT, I take a lot of online stuff, but you don't mean a canned pre-recorded. You're talking about semi-live or something.
Yeah, it'll be live and multiple. The fun part about it being live, with the teaching pieces being videos, then the facilitator can actually facilitate rather than have to think about facilitating, managing breakout rooms, doing the teaching pieces, you know, all that kind of stuff. So we're hoping to really skinny down the jobs and automate as much as possible while keeping the conversation and the event each night very live.
I just want to say, excuse me, Chris, that none of the teaching pieces are more than 10 minutes long. You know, they're really short. So
they're honestly more closer. I think the longest one is just a little over 3 or 4. We really try to keep it clean. The curriculum is a conversation, Chris. That's the cool thing, is we lift up a teaching piece, we set up a structure, and then we ask good questions and put folks into groups to chat about that. And then we, you know, professionally facilitate that. Darcella, you wanting to chime in there?
No, I thought that the different sessions, it was the right amount of time for like we do a Friday night, all day Saturday, and it wasn't too much for anybody to take in. It was the right amount. And then you could go home and think about it and do what you need to do and move on to the next. I think if you would have done it all at once, it would have been overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah. And different people like different styles. That was the fun part about it. Once again, though, Chris, as we do record each session, if a person misses, the beautiful thing is they can watch the recording and catch right up. That was one of the bigger concerns we had when we taught it live, because some of the sessions, they really built on each other. And the meatier sessions at the end, if you hadn't built up the trust with the people in the classroom, you know, the conversations at the end may not have been able to go as deep, and therefore the personal discovery at the end may not have been as able to go as deep. So we have to ask ourselves a lot of questions like that about how to actually offer it in an online capacity. But we're excited to ask the questions. I think the cool thing is, I never would in my life would have thought this could do this. And we've always said CLM should someday conquer the world. You know, we've been trying to have that happen. Just because, as you'll hear tonight, a few of the personal stories, people's lives have been completely changed. And to get that into the nooks and crannies of the world that wouldn't have ever been able to take it before is just keeps me up at night. Keeps me up at night. I'm so excited about it. One quick, as I talk about testimonials, we had a Stephanie Martin is actually, she's the French voice of Disney, of the Disney princesses, but she's a singer-songwriter, a performer, and she took CLM with us in Toronto in 2009. And actually near the end, the 17th session, we gift each other in the classroom, and she wrote a song called Walk in the Light, which was what the course was able to show her, that she indeed was light, that she was love, that she was life. And for our graduation that year with Stephanie's class, the whole class learned the song and they stood and clapped the song. I think at one time, Cheryl, you can confirm that she jumped off stage singing and went around. It was just a freedom from a performer who's already an incredibly creative person. But Stephanie actually, that song went onto her next album, and just a really, really neat testimony that working the 3 strands of sacred self and passion together for herself, like DNA is what she says, propelled her life forward. And the dance between that sacred self and passion, the fabric there, was what really changed her. And it was exciting to watch Stephanie grow. So the courses, as Barb just said, 3 courses. And the first one is named Rediscovering Relationship with the Sacred. And how we would frame each course is we wrote a descriptor, okay? And so if you were to read any of the marketing material about CLM, the sacred course would say, while many would agree that relationship with the sacred is the fundamental beginning of all faith paths, this transforming experience is often lost when we exchange our spiritual vitality for empty religious practice. And in these 6 sessions, we'll explore what it means to be transformed by an encounter with the sacred and rediscover loving God with heart and soul and mind. So there's a descriptive sentence for each of the 3 courses like that. There's also every session and every course is framed by both a scripture and a quote. And we did that on purpose so that if you were teaching, say down in Austin, where the Bible is a significant part probably of Sunday worship, and you wanted the people in that arena wanted to lean more on the biblical scripture to frame each session, that would work. Up in Toronto, we were not at all a Bible-based church. And if we had only had the scripture to lean on, it just wouldn't have had the structure that our folks needed. And so we always made sure, and many of you, I'm kind of peeling back the onion for those of you who've already taken the course, and now you can see a tad bit of the design and the idea. But we wanted to make sure that no matter where CLM went, what kind of church it went into, or we've had folks teaching it in prisons, teaching it in hospitals, teaching it in universities, so many different places. We wanted to make sure nothing got in the way of the concepts of the conversations going forward. And just to give you a little flavor of this, of sacred, we call this one. This is how we saw people coming in and leaving these 6 sessions, where Thomas More says, it's always tempting to make God in our own image rather than the other way around. We feel the need for a certain source of security, and so we design a God tailor-made for our purposes. Then we defend this image against all others. But the purpose of the name of God is to crack us open, lifting us out of our finitude and self-absorbed anxiety. And this religious enterprise requires an idea of God beyond any fixed notion we might have. And so the very first night in the very first session, sorry, let me give you first the titles. These are the 6 session names. So the first session within the first course of Sacred is called Bring Many Names. The second one, Beyond Belief. The third night was The Body Eclectic. 4th was Friends of God and Prophets. And the 5th night was called Staying Alive. So we'd have 5 teaching sessions, and the 6th session, Celebrating the Sacred, was always a potluck. And there were questions, a homework after the 5th session. There was always homework this night of reflecting on your experience of Bring Many Names, of Beyond Belief, because each of these courses has about 2 hours of homework as well. So yes, Chris, just to say 2-hour class and 2 hours of homework, yeah, very possibly, depending on how much you got into it, right? But anyway, in the Sacred, we would share a meal, and then people would stand up in front of the whole group and share answers to their questions, their reflection questions on the 5 previous course sessions. And then they would try and give one name to their experience of being in the Sacred. I'm wondering if any of you who've taken the course have any memories of that you might share as a little tiny testimony. Apparently not. Or so you're trying to.
Yes,
You're being very good tonight, trying to hold back.
it was eye-opening to me to, growing up and Pentecostal, learning this way. And then when I moved and lived with Tom and Ken and started attending MCC, all of the thoughts I had about God and what I thought God was out on its ear. In taking the course, it opened up a whole new realm for me by evaluating what I'd learned. And it I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. I was more open
Crack you
to,
open, baby.
yeah,
The purpose
did.
of the name of God is to crack us open.
yeah.
Carolyn, I can see you there, honey. Yeah, and that's exactly why we grabbed that quote. Hey, good to see you, my friend. Because that's the whole point of that, was to have folks bring in their image of God and yet not take it away, but very possibly invite them to add to it. And we were really careful. We fought when we wrote this course. There were just, oh my goodness, there were times we would just go knuckle and knuckle about a word or a phrase or how to ask a question, because we really never wanted to. We didn't want to. Let's see. We always wanted to meet folks where they were with their understandings and never negate them, never say that's not good enough or that's not enough. But we always wanted to then acknowledge that point they came in with and invite them for more. And so, Darcel, that was a perfect way to say it. It was, we cracked you open so that the images that you could take away about the God you brought in, we didn't take that away from you, but we opened you. And then if you left with that same image, but it was more precious to you, that's good too. If you added to that, yay for you as well, but we really honored each person's path. And one of the cool ways we did this is that the first night, there was an activity. We always really tried to get folks up and moving around, and besides the conversational part. So we did this activity at the very end, and it's called Bring Many Names. And we worked with Psalm 135 interior to the course, where it talks about people become like the God they believe in. And I wish we could do a whole hour just on that one statement. But we took the story in Genesis where Jacob wrestles with the angel and he said, I'm not letting go till you bless me. And then the angel blessed Jacob with a new name, because Jacob was not afraid to fight and wrestle with that angel. And so we took a song that many folks are familiar with, I Will Change Your Name. And then we actually had folks write that back to God. Instead of in these lyrics where God gives us a new name, we wrote that back to God. And then we got up. I mean, in our case, Cheryl played the guitar and we walked around the whole room reading all the lyrics, singing all the lyrics out loud. And I promise you, every night that occurred, I mean, beyond tears, it was just the hair on your arms would be up the entire night with the beauty of people getting it. That they could maybe take the tapes they had brought in and the structure of church and spirituality and religion and free themselves if some of those tapes weren't healthy, if some of those tapes didn't serve them anymore. So that is, in a nutshell, that's the opening salvo of Sacred. Then we pushed folks in a little deeper and we talked about rediscovering a relationship with myself. And we noticed that as postmodern Western people, we spend time, effort, and money seeking to understand who we are. And in these 6 sessions, we explored some of the influences that have shaped us, ways to create a self we would want to live with, that others could relate to, and that God will be able to use in the service of all that is sacred. So it's tied back to that first course. The names of self, the first session in this course is Brilliant, Gorgeous, Fabulous. The second session was called Powerful Beyond Measure. The third course, Under the Waterline. Can anybody ever forget waterline people, iceberg people, and how they help us really get to know ourselves, as well as, getting to know why we are who we are, why we do what we do, and how we can engage others with compassion and curiosity rather than judgment. Just a powerful, powerful event. Under the waterline, we all also learned that we have a water line. When we need to protect ourselves, we can lift that up a little bit. Or when we're open to ourselves, we can drop it down and share a little more personally and deeply. And the reason we taught waterline was because keeping body and soul together is our most talked about class always. And it's on spirituality and sexuality and the intersection. And when we do CLM more or 201 levels, we tend to work even more deeply here, believing that this really was MCC's message to the rest of the church, that if we could get this part right, if we could get the intersection of our spirituality and our sexuality in a healthy understanding, everything else will probably fall into place. Good vibrations, a class where we gifted each other. And then again, our sixth session was always that same potluck and then reflecting on the other sessions. Yeah, I'll stop there and see if anybody has any comments on that, any memories or any comments on self. All right, in the honor of time, oh, let me just see if I do this one, if this works at all. If any of you have this, bring back any memory for any of you. Can you hear that? This song was woven throughout the second course. And the last night we sang it to each other around a circle. As it sings again, no one has to sing out loud, but I wonder if you couldn't take these words in about yourself tonight.
Tell you were anything less than beautiful. How could anyone ever tell you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected. My soul.
I will tell you the origins of that song. Thank you, Carolyn. I can hear that. The memories going back, right? When we were first writing this, Ken and Cheryl, Lily, Glenna, we'd all come down to Sanctuary and argue and create and allow Holy Spirit to just come right through us. And we were always looking for songs and poetry and stories that would make the content come to life. And I found this one, and I never forget, Ken had picked me up at the airport, and we pulled in, those of you who know Sanctuary, right there in front of Tom's little carport. And I said, play this. And it's actually a 7-minute long song. They sing it over and over and over till you're just a puddle, you know. And Ken and I, by the 3 minutes in, we're both crying. We're sitting in the car, and he just looked at me and he said, that's it. And this song forever, I think, has just deeply spoken to people about letting other people notice their giftedness, and then really recognizing that giftedness is set into you by that larger understanding of the holy, the sacred, such that you have a passion put into your soul that if you can live into and have the courage to live into that in the next session, my goodness, people's lives change, people quit jobs, people started businesses, people some people left relationships that were not healthy. I think there are 3 marriages now from people being 3 that we know of, from folks who met in CLM courses. But the depth of who you talk, the depth of the conversations that you have with people who you probably have never had that kind of depth in your own family, you know, conversations with folks who you love, it just changes things. So let me keep on rolling here. And wow, I'm having my own little flashback, so I apologize. The third course is called Rediscovering Relationship with My Passion. And my goodness, this one, I would always say it's where the rubber met the road. It's where everything came together. But if people were going to quit and they tried to, it was during passion. Because one of the things we did with passion, I'm going to show you a few pictures here. First off, let me give you the description. So our passions make us most aware of our personal power, energy, and joy. Many external and internal factors influence how successfully we manifest these passions in our lives. But in these 6 sessions, and they were just son of a gun sessions, we're going to explore ways to manage the factors, discover what gives us power, energy, and joy, and how we can serve the sacred through our church. And the names of the course, the sessions were Did You Call Me? Peaks and Valleys, Shadows in the Valleys. This one is all about fear, the universal experience of fear and learning to be with rather than to run from. Tapestry, we actually wove our lives together in this. And the Perfect Swing, many of you will remember the video clips from Bagger Vance in that. But what we did in this course is we had folks begin at the very beginning by drawing a life map. And then we would use that life map in the rest of the courses. Cheryl, is this one yours?
Yes, that's mine. Yes.
You want to, anybody? So here's this is one example of a life map. Here, Cheryl, is another person's example of a life map. But Cheryl, you've got to articulate yours for this. I'm gonna make it bigger here. Can you share with people how you drew your life map? I know I'm putting you on the spot there.
Yeah, you did put me on the spot here. Well, actually, there's 3 lines there, and they're 3 different colors. And you can see that I've got one that represents the relationship with the sacred, one that represents relationship with myself, and one that represents relationship with my passion. And I just had a timeline of events at the bottom, but they would be, you know, the thing that I most noticed was I talked about sacred and what was happening in my life and so on and so forth. But when I got down here on the sacred line, you can see these 2 peaks here are when my children were born. And then, yeah. And then down at the bottom here, where you see these 2 big valleys, I had a major breakup with in a relationship and stuff. And so you can see myself and my relationship with my passion went down. But the thing that always happened whenever those things went down is my relationship with sacred went back up, you know, or vice versa. So it was always very interesting to me that you know, you always return to God whenever your life sucks, right? So and anyway, so it was just interesting to me. I'd have to look at it more closely and review it again. I can't hardly remember anything from it, but I remember that specific thing was that I noticed that my relationship with God was always at its highest whenever the rest of my life was not in very good shape, you know, so anyway.
Well, in that night, what was really beautiful is because we helped folks develop, and we didn't call these things bad or good. We called them peaks and valleys, because part of this teaching is, even like Cheryl, as you're going through this valley of yourself, this valley of your passion, you know, the peak on the other side is you pushed into your relationship with God. And just really recognizing that if we draw our life and then we stand back, it can speak to us. And it was almost always this night when we had people in a dark, big room. These are life-size flip chart pieces of paper, not little pieces of paper. These are big pieces of paper with markers and, oh my God, yardsticks and big tables, and everything was all in candlelight. I always said if there was one night that people would just roll a mat out on the floor and lay there and sleep there tonight, you know, that would have been that night. And it was also the night that if you, when you looked back at your life, were not happy with some of the choices you made, with some of the circumstances of your life, they showed up on this map. And I can't tell you how many folks I watched when they got up to go to the bathroom, and I knew they were leaving and they weren't coming back. And I would go get them, or Cheryl would go get them, or Kim would go get them, because we knew if you could get through this part, the next little bit of sanctuary was that freeing, just a corner turned, you know, of community, of relationship, of friendship, of personal awareness and love of self. And so anyway, just to give you a little taste of the depth. And so I love this, Chris, as you're like, I've never heard of this, never seen it. How are we gonna do this online? Right? And Carolyn and Rob, RJ, I know you guys started a little bit late. The whole goal is to put this, redesign it and put this online. So many folks who were unable to experience CLM now will have access to the best of CLM in a way to create it with personal and breakout rooms and videoed trainings of some of the, we always said if we could get Ken to do the sexuality and spirituality part, because he wrote that, there's a story he tells. Could you imagine? So we always said we wanted to get Ken like a hologram of him to come in and teach that one part. And now we're going to be able to do that with video, with the power of video. So we're incredibly excited of the way we can make this even better. And yet it will definitely change, you know, what goes on. Real quick, a couple pictures just to show you. We took CLM to the Philippines, and there's our class. This is representatives from every church in the Philippines. And at the end of the course, like I said, we weave our lives together, these different pieces of cloth that people bring in that meant a lot to them. I will tell you, this might have been right before the power went out in the Philippines. Yes. I'll just leave it at that. It was quite an experience, but it was also one of the most incredible opportunities for CLM to get around the world. We really want the course to be multiculturalized, and within each culture, we've got a team in the Philippines that they change the music, they change the poetry and some of the authors. We've got a group in Australia doing the same thing. So it doesn't look like it's written by some white folks from the US. You know, some white Protestant Christian from, you know, so we really want to continue to let CLM grow and breathe and become its own, you know, organic entity there. So here's another group. They actually, in their church, you can see their names embroidered into this class. In Toronto, we have ours framed all over the church where you can see. This is at the very last bit. Here's Joy MCC in Orlando. Their picture of them and their tapestry. Omaha, Nebraska. Houston, Texas. And again, more and more and more. We have so many testimonies. The books are beautiful. They are all color, all beautiful. We have to, again, redesign these to get these out onto the internet. We'll figure out how to do that. And then I just say, it's even amazing to us that 15 years later, CLM can still be being taught in our churches. I think we're in 7 countries. We have hundreds of certified facilitators, thousands of graduates all over the world. But indeed, we want to now just bust those numbers out and move beyond that to transform more lives, inspire more people to direct, clear, passionate involvement in their lives and the life of the planet. And I wonder how we address the concept of MCC, you know, going forward, simply because we want to just jump over a lot of fences to get this out to people. Darcel, I'd asked you earlier, I know we're just up the timelines, but I asked you if you wanted to share a little bit about what taking CLM did for you.
You know, after we finished the course, when they gave us our certificates at church, Lori Dick asked me, in one word, can you say how it changed your life? Or how, you know, what it means to me. And I said, I can't use one word. I'm going to use 2. It's life-changing. And it was. You know, I was at a place in my life where I didn't love myself. And I'm going to cry. It helped me get over that hump that was the biggest roadblock in my life. And I was able to be vulnerable. I was able to be open. I was able to be truthful. And it was so freeing. And it helped me with my relationship with God. And it helped me with my relationship with my church. I was able to do more because I remember talking to Ken one time saying, I feel like I need to do more. I need to do more. I don't know what to do. And he said, take CLM. And it was perfect. I mean, you have to be honest with yourself. And I can't recommend it enough. It's fabulous.
Thanks, Darcel.
Honestly.
Well, and I appreciate sometimes
My water line isn't bad right now.
well, and sometimes being without words says more than having words, honey. So thank you for that. Carolyn, you've been nodding your head down there. I wonder if you have anything you'd like to share tonight. Come off mute and share a bit.
Hi, everybody. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, you sound great.
Right. You know what? I have been on the edge of CLM, not yet through it. I was in Texas when y'all were beginning to talk about developing it, and I've been at a couple of general conferences where we did the train the trainers, but never have gone through with a group, you know. And when I was in Richmond, I helped 2 people get to the training from that church who were gonna do it for us. And then of course I was interim, so I had to leave and I never got to see the fruit of that. But I love the program from beginning to end. I know people at Resurrection who have gone through the whole thing, and they have shared with me how life-changing it was for them, and it turned them around, got them engaged in ways that they never had been before. So CLM is exactly what we needed at MCC after people kind of got excited about Excel and kind of went through all 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 of those. We needed a next step, and this is it. So thank you so much. And it's great to see everybody, Joe, you especially, and everyone. I love you and I appreciate you, and I'm glad you're on.
Well, thank you for coming, Carolyn. It's good to see you here, my friend. If you make sure to give us an email in the chat, we will put you on our mailing list and make sure you know what's happening. We've got Lily Brock coming next week, so you won't want to miss that. But anyway, thank you. Thank you, my friends, for listening tonight. CLM is obviously a work of our heart, but my goodness, when the 3 of us sat around that dining room table, we had no idea this would go around the world, and this would still have legs 15 years later. And And what I promise you, I almost rode my bike off the road when I realized if we can get this thing up and online, people who would never have the opportunity. Darcel, can you even imagine little churches, people who aren't in churches, people who don't ever want to go to a church? I mean, they can finally be in the conversation. They can learn how precious and beautiful and wonderful they are, right, Darcel? They can get honest with their own love of self, love of other, and hopefully live into working in their passions. I mean, and the whole thing comes round to when you crack open and have the courage to crack open the concepts of God, the limited concepts that you bring in. And I mean, that takes courage. And yet we do it with gentleness and at your own pace, with a little gentle push and encourage, right? Just making you enough uncomfortable that you can grow, and that you hear other people's stories that are, I could tell you stories for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. Then with self, that love of self, Darcel, how could anyone ever tell you? That song goes deep into your soul. And when you sing it to each other in a circle, when you have folks sing it to you, and when you sing it to others that you believe the words, that changes things. And if we can help you look at your life map and find that thread that's always been in your life, but what you love, what you are passionate about, what you can't not do, is the definition that we use in CLM, and help you to find that thing, the stories need to get told. So I really appreciate y'all coming tonight. And I want to, Darcel, did you raise your hand? You want to say something? Go for it, hon.
The one thing I wanted to say as you were saying that is I felt totally safe to be honest. I knew I wasn't going to be judged, and it freed me to be able to be my authentic self. And I thank you, Jesus.
Thank you. Bonnie and Carol are there going, yeah, power, baby. Yeah. And Carly's going, thank you, Jesus. Absolutely. Because Darcel, you showed up to yourself. You did. You showed up, and you were out. Oh, yes, period. You showed up to yourself, and you gave yourself permission to live. Yes. Well, my friends, I have to show you a 3-minute video. I know we're a few minutes over, but Ken Martin, who wanted to be with us tonight, but he was not feeling well today, and we want you to encourage you to keep your prayers up for Ken. You know, he's one of they call him a long hauler with COVID. So he's doing well some days and not well other days. He is doing well. Please hear that first, and keep your prayers to him for his strength. But he is beyond excited. We've developed an Advent series that we have joined with all other MCC resources that are doing this as well. But every Tuesday night in December, we're going to bring a really powerful event with someone doing a little liturgy for us of lighting a candle, and then a teaching about world religions, an interactive part, and then an artistic part at the end. So if you give me 3 minutes to Ken, then we'll sign off and we'll say we love you, and we'll see you next Tuesday. But go ahead and let me share my screen and show you this video that Ken made for all of you, that hopefully you'll be seeing all over the place shortly as we start to advertise. Okay, come here, Ken.
Joe, while we're waiting on that as you're getting that set up, let me just let this group know that Sanctuary is going to have our very first ever Zoom annual meeting. We are a nonprofit organization, an MCC Oasis community, and we're going to have an annual meeting coming up on November 22nd. You'll see that on our emails as we start to put the date out for that. But it's an open meeting, and you know, if you can make that time, it's November 22nd, 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. Then we'd love to have you join us on Zoom, and the same sanctuaryonline.live Zoom channel.
Yeah, definitely, Carolyn, RJ. If we don't have your email and your name, if you could go ahead and put that into the chat box, we will add you to our mailing list and get things going and get you a little more into our community. And here is Ken.
Hi, I'm Ken Martin. I'd like just a couple of minutes of your time to invite you to join us here at sanctuaryonline.live for the first 4 Tuesdays of December for our very first celebration of Advent. Advent has always been my very favorite season of the year because it's about excitement, it's about anticipation, it's about preparation and the belief that God is about to do something amazing and wonderful, and whatever that is, we don't want to miss it. So we're going to begin each of those Tuesday evenings by lighting the Advent wreath. This is our wreath that we will be lighting here at Sanctuary in the Woods. If you already have a wreath, that's wonderful. If you'd like to get one, you can go to Amazon.com. They have hundreds of them. Every price point, every size that you can imagine. And you can really participate with us just by reading along with the liturgies that will be on your screen that night. You don't necessarily need a wreath. Each one of our wreath lighting ceremonies is going to be led by a family or individuals across the United States and Canada. You know, each of the 4 weeks of Advent has its own theme, and this year we're going to be celebrating the 4 traditional Advent themes of hope, peace, joy, and love. And then immediately after that, I'm going to take a few minutes, 10 or 15 minutes maybe, to help all of us understand what all of the different great living religions believe and teach and practice about these different themes. For example, in the first week, what's the difference in the way Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism believe? What's the difference in what they believe about hope? What do we preach and teach about hope? How do we practice hope? And then the rest of that hour is going to be a different, fun, interactive, seasonal activity of some kind. And then we're going to end each evening with a very special musical guest sharing the music of this season with us. And wait until you see some of the people that we're going to have singing for you. So that's 7 p.m. Central Time, December 1st, 8, 15, and 22. All you have to do is go to sanctuaryonline.live. 2020 has not been the best year for many of us. So let's enlist this thing together and let's begin next year with hope and with peace and with joy and with love. I can't wait to see you. Thank you.
Isn't that nice? And we get to see Ken. And so I hope you'll come. I hope you'll invite many, many people. This puppy will be her first Advent ever because she's brand new at Sanctuary. Going to join all the other animals that are down there. Anyway, so thank you so much for coming tonight. I hope we created curiosity with you around CLM. I hope we created any ideas and spark of ideas. If you'd like to be part of the team that's going to rebuild her and get her out onto the internet, please let me know. You can just send us an email at talktous@sanctuaryonline.com. And that is
And before you go, Joe, let's everybody unmute. That's the way we always do it. Everybody unmute and give Joby some real love. Yay, Joby!
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll take it because teaching with a
Right on.
in your arms has been an excellent challenge.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't wait, y'all.
Thank
Can't
you,
wait to.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thanks, Tom.
All right.
Thank
Good to
you.
see
And hugs for
everybody.
us.
Mark
Good to see you
Crabtree,
tonight.
great to see you.
RJ,
I
great to
put
see
my
you.
email on
too.
the side, Mark.
I got
Yeah,
it.
you
I will be adding you in. You can
Thanks,
pop
Aunt
in whenever
Carolyn.
you can, and we'll see you on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm
Where
waiting
are
to
you
get a
now,
nice
Carolyn?
picture. I want to see little G. See little G.
Here's little G.
Saginaw, Michigan. Carolyn's in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Type it.
Wow.
Just down the road. Joe and Cheryl are in Michigan right now.
Yeah, Carolyn, we stayed up here because of COVID. We stayed here. We live with my mom in the summertime. She's 91.
Really?
Lives
I didn't know
alone.
that.
And we thought she knew the joy of a puppy in her
Oh.
life, which she's not necessarily agreeing with right now because this guy's not very well trained yet.
We'll
Michigan.
be in Michigan for Thanksgiving. We'll be in Brighton.
Look at that. 5 of us online tonight in Michigan.
Oh, all right.
God bless. All right, my friends, I'm going to give you one more shot at here's what's happening
Right.
in December. Look at this. And I'm taking this puppy out to do the things puppies do after they wake up. It's going to be
Take a
so
shot.
much fun every Tuesday. Seasonal traditions and photo share. Ken's going to sing. Then we've got Darcel on the second week singing with favorite seasonal foods and recipes,
All right.
favorite ornaments and photos.
yeah.
And together
I love
is
it.
going to be singing Joy to the World. We're thematically matching that. We finished the whole thing up with 2020 reflections,
All right.
2021 intentions, and Kim Wisdom singing an incredible rendition of Go Light Your World.
Wow.
And here's how
Go
we're
light
doing this.
the world. That's
You
great.
should be seeing these in your churches, hopefully advertising us. But Kim and her
Okay.
3 beautiful daughters will be doing our candle lighting liturgy the first week. Stedney and Hannah the second week.
Yeah.
Edie and the gang, Tina and the third week, and then Jane Ann from Canada will be doing our 4th week. So we've been working a long time to put this together. We're incredibly excited to bring it to you. So
I'm sure.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
say goodnight, Georgia.
All right.
God
Logging
bless
out.
all of you.
Thank
She's
you.
the most,
Later.
the most zooming
Night,
little
next week.
Labrador.
Looking forward to seeing Lily Brock.
Yeah, Lily next week,
That's
Carolyn.
cute.
Come on back. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Okay, yeah.
Tom, give Ken
Look
our love.
forward to it. All right. Bye-bye. I'm gonna hit
Bye,
the
Tommy.
red button. I'm
Bye to all from Southern Florida.